What if your morning began not with a commute, but with a helicopter lifting off from a palace courtyard? What if your home was guarded by golden falcons, your garage filled with cars worth more than entire neighborhoods, and your weekends spent aboard a $300 million yacht gliding through the Mediterranean? This isn't the fantasy of a movie. It's the everyday reality of the Al Maktoum royal family, Dubai's richest, most powerful, and arguably most visionary dynasty. For most people, Dubai is a place of skyscrapers, gold-plated supercars, and futuristic malls. But behind the shimmering skyline lies a deeper story, one of ambition, legacy, and unshakable belief. A story not just about wealth, but about transformation. Because the Al Maktoum family didn't just inherit a kingdom, they built a global empire from the sands of an unforgiving desert. Today, we pull back the curtain on a life few can imagine. From palace fortresses and billion-dollar estates to horse-breeding dynasties and floating cities on water, this is the world of Dubai's ruling family. Not just rich. Not just royal. Trillionaire power, global influence, and a vision that reshaped history. Welcome to the life behind the gold gates. Just a few generations ago, Dubai was little more than a stretch of sand. The kind of place where dust settled for centuries and change moved no faster than a camel's gait. Back then, there were no towers, no yachts, no airports. Just wind-swept villages, fishermen hauling their nets, and pearl divers risking their breath to find fortune beneath the waves. Oil hadn't yet been struck. Technology was a dream for the future. The desert dictated the rhythm of life. Fast forward to today, and that same patch of sand is one of the most influential cities on Earth. Dubai isn't just a location on a map. It's a brand, a vision, and a global powerhouse. A city with its own gravitational pull, drawing billionaires, world leaders, influencers, and dreamers alike. But this didn't happen by chance. Behind the miracle was a man with a vision that defied geography, tradition, and time. Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. Sheikh Mohammed wasn't content to watch the world change. He intended to change it himself. And so, with relentless ambition and strategic brilliance, he began crafting a new Dubai, one that would break free from limitations and become the center of gravity for global business, tourism, innovation, and influence. He didn't just build tall buildings. He turned the skyline into a message that Dubai was ready to lead. Under his leadership, the city transformed from a sleepy port into a metropolis of dreams. Fishing boats were replaced with floating palaces. Traditional souks evolved into luxury malls with indoor ski slopes. And while many mocked the idea of a world-class airline born in the desert, Sheikh Mohammed launched Emirates Airlines, now one of the most successful in the world. But Emirates was more than just a transportation company. It was a statement. A bold proclamation that Dubai would no longer wait to be noticed. It would chart its own flight path to the top. Today, Emirates connects more than 150 cities, making Dubai the beating heart between East and West. It's not just about travel, it's about symbolism. About positioning a once overlooked desert city as a global crossroads of culture, commerce, and ambition. But Sheikh Mohammed didn't stop there. As the planes flew, he built the airports to welcome them, not terminals, but glass palaces that merged architecture with awe. Dubai International Airport now rivals the biggest in the world, not just in passenger numbers, but in luxury and experience. He wasn't just building a city. He was building an identity. Behind every glowing skyscraper and every light show dancing up the Burj Khalifa lies not luck, but precision. A plan. A purpose. Dubai, under Sheikh Mohammed, became a place where oil money met innovation, where ancient traditions walked beside artificial intelligence, and where boardroom deals were sealed not in dull offices, but in marble lobbies floating above the clouds. This wasn't just leadership. It was transformation. Ruthless in ambition, bold in design, and unapologetically futuristic. And it all began with one man standing in the desert, daring to imagine a city the world would someday bow to. Before the gold, before the towers, before the world took notice, there was a boy. A quiet boy, born into royalty, yes, but far from luxury. In 1949, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum was born into a Dubai that had no skyscrapers, no oil wealth, no global spotlight. His playground was the desert. His classroom was the world. From an early age, Mohammed wasn't just observing, he was absorbing. At age 10, he was enrolled in Al-Ahmadiyya School, a modest school in Dera. But his destiny would take him far beyond its simple walls. His father, Sheikh Rashid, believed that leadership came not from pampering, but from perspective. So he sent young Mohammed to the UK for higher education. There, at the Mons Officer Cadet School in Aldershot, and later in Cambridge, Sheikh Mohammed would learn discipline, strategy, and diplomacy. But what set him apart wasn't just education, it was vision. Unlike many royals who inherit legacy and protect it, Mohammed dreamed of transformation. He didn't just want to manage Dubai, he wanted to reinvent it. And he knew the key lay in mastering both power and persuasion. The world didn't need another oil-rich monarch, it needed a leader who could turn a barren coastline into a futuristic dream. As he stepped into leadership roles, one thing became clear: Sheikh Mohammed wasn't a figurehead. He was a builder, a commander, an architect of ambition. And ambition, for him, was personal. His first major move? Building the foundation of Dubai's global brand. He spearheaded the creation of Emirates Airlines in 1985, despite intense skepticism from international aviation giants. A desert city launching an airline? They laughed. But within 2 decades, Emirates was outperforming legacy carriers, setting new standards for luxury, punctuality, and global reach. But Emirates was just the beginning. He launched Jebel Ali Port, now the busiest in the Middle East. He founded Dubai Internet City in 2000, luring tech giants like Microsoft, Oracle, and IBM to the desert when others thought it madness. Then came Dubai Media City, Dubai Knowledge Village, and Dubai Healthcare City. Each initiative didn't just build infrastructure, it planted Dubai as a new capital for industries across the board. Every stone was laid with intention. Every project was part of a larger mosaic. By the early 2000s, Sheikh Mohammed wasn't just transforming Dubai, he was redefining what cities could be. The world watched as he unveiled project after project. The Burj Khalifa, the tallest building on Earth. The Palm Islands, man-made land stretching into the sea. The World Islands, shaped like a global map and visible from space. To many, it looked like showmanship. But to those paying closer attention, it was strategy. Dubai couldn't compete with old European cities in history or with Asian metropolises in population. But it could offer spectacle, safety, and vision, 3 things the modern global elite craved. Sheikh Mohammed turned Dubai into a magnet for the world's wealth, talent, and imagination. And behind every bold project, he embedded something subtler: control. You see, while Sheikh Mohammed is often portrayed as a benevolent visionary, he's also a master strategist. Dubai's success isn't just due to tourism or business, it's built on precision governance, elite connections, and calculated alliances. From forging ties with Silicon Valley to hosting global summits, every handshake served a higher purpose. But leadership isn't just about economy, it's about culture. And here, Sheikh Mohammed played his next card: narrative control. He authored poetry under the name Fazza, wrote books on leadership, and began shaping how the world saw Dubai, not just as a city, but as a story. A mythic transformation, where a visionary sheikh defied odds and summoned a metropolis from the desert sands. It was Hollywood storytelling on a royal budget. He was no longer just Dubai's ruler. He was its symbol. A modern king with the heart of a poet and the hands of a builder. Of course, not everything was golden. Behind the shine, there have been controversies, criticism over labor laws, restrictions on press freedom, and whispers of royal family disputes. But even these didn't slow Dubai's momentum. If anything, they showcased how tightly Sheikh Mohammed controlled the kingdom's image. Problems didn't get erased, they got buried under more success. And his influence doesn't end at the UAE's borders. He's invested billions globally, from tech startups in California to horse farms in the UK. Through his Godolphin racing empire, he dominates the global horse racing scene, earning respect from royals and billionaires alike. In fact, his love for horses isn't just a hobby, it's an extension of Dubai's identity: speed, elegance, and dominance on the world stage. But what truly separates Sheikh Mohammed is that he never stopped imagining. In recent years, he's launched the Mars 2117 project, an initiative to build a human settlement on Mars within 100 years. Yes, Mars. While most world leaders wrestle with tax policy or healthcare reform, Sheikh Mohammed is mapping the future of interplanetary life. It sounds impossible, until you remember that this is the man who built floating villas, indoor ski resorts in 50 degrees Celsius heat, and an economy that doesn't rely on oil anymore. At every step, he's asked the same question: why not? Why can't a desert city become the world's most visited destination? Why can't a royal leader become a global tech investor? Why can't vision outweigh history? And perhaps, most importantly, why should Dubai settle for anything less than everything? Because for Sheikh Mohammed, the mission has always been clear: to make Dubai not just a place on the map, but a model for the future. A place where wealth meets willpower, and luxury is just the beginning. So when you see the skyline light up, remember, it's not just about buildings. It's about the mind behind them. A mind that reshaped the desert and dared the world to dream bigger. In a land where wealth is not just displayed, but woven into the fabric of daily life, few names echo louder than that of the Al Maktoum family, the ruling dynasty of Dubai. Their fortune is not merely a number, it's an empire of influence, palaces, superyachts, racehorses, and power carved into the very skyline of the city they transformed. And while the world speaks often of billionaires, the Al Maktoums live on a different tier altogether. One that brushes against the concept of a trillion-dollar legacy, hidden behind tradition, opulence, and absolute rule. At the center of this empire stands Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the Vice President and Prime Minister of the United Arab Emirates, and the ruler of Dubai. His personal wealth is estimated at over $14 billion, but that's only the tip of the iceberg. When one considers his control over the Dubai Investment Corporation, the Emirati Sovereign Wealth Fund, Dubai Holding, and the massive web of state assets, the power he wields crosses into untouchable territory. In Dubai, he is more than a political leader, he is a patriarch, a visionary, and a symbol of prosperity. Let's begin where this unimaginable fortune becomes most visible: the royal palaces. The Al Maktoum family owns not one or two, but more than a dozen palaces across Dubai and abroad. The most iconic is Zabiel Palace, hidden behind manicured hedges, gilded gates, and protected by elite guards. Unlike the public-facing opulence of European royalty, Zabiel Palace is shrouded in mystery. Very few outsiders have ever seen its interiors, but those who have described it as a blend of Islamic art, gold leaf domes, priceless Persian carpets, and private halls adorned with artifacts that predate most European kingdoms. But Zabiel is just one of many. There's Al Marmoum Palace, a sprawling desert estate that spans tens of thousands of acres, complete with private racetracks for camels and horses, man-made lakes, and secluded quarters for guests and VIP dignitaries. It isn't just a home. It's a city within a city, where the ruler can live, host international leaders, and command the region without ever stepping into public view. Then there are the palaces abroad. In the UK, Sheikh Mohammed owns the Longcross estate in Surrey, and the vast Dalham Hall stud in Newmarket, a hub of his thoroughbred empire. The British press often points out how easily members of the Al Maktoum family blend into English aristocracy, owning entire villages in rural England while remaining largely invisible to the public eye. It's wealth that whispers, not shouts, because it doesn't have to prove itself. But for the Al Maktoums, land is only one part of the equation. The seas tell a different story. Among the most extravagant symbols of their wealth is the superyacht Dubai, one of the largest and most expensive private yachts in the world. Over 530 feet long, this floating palace features multiple swimming pools, a helipad, luxurious VIP suites, a disco hall, a private movie theater, and even a submarine garage. Its construction spanned over a decade and cost an estimated $400 million, but the yacht is rarely seen in public waters. When it does appear, in Monaco or Sardinia, it serves as a reminder: some families don't charter yachts, they own ocean kingdoms. Meanwhile, in the skies, Sheikh Mohammed's private Boeing 747 isn't your average business jet. It's a flying palace, customized with gold accents, full bedrooms, dining rooms, and a flight crew trained for royalty. The jet often flies under diplomatic clearance, meaning it's exempt from regular customs or inspections, a flying fortress of privilege. But perhaps the Al Maktoum family's most culturally significant symbol of power isn't real estate or machines. It's horses. Sheikh Mohammed is the founder of Godolphin, one of the most powerful horse racing stables in the world. With over 1,000 horses spread across Dubai, the UK, Ireland, Australia, and the US, Godolphin has won nearly every major title in the sport. Horse breeding, in Arab culture, is not just a hobby. It is a symbol of nobility, strength, and divine favor. The Al Maktoums have spent over $1 billion on racehorses and breeding programs, and the family's racing interests are spread across global events from Royal Ascot to the Melbourne Cup. Through Godolphin and their sister operation, Darley Stud, they control a significant portion of the thoroughbred bloodlines in the modern world. Their stallions, like Dubai and Street Cry, have sired champions whose blood now circulates through racing stables worldwide. This isn't just passion. It's soft power, inherited influence, and global reach disguised as sport. Of course, this opulence isn't just about luxury, it serves a purpose. Every element, from palaces to yachts, plays a role in diplomatic signaling. When foreign leaders are invited to Dubai, they are not taken to government buildings. They are hosted in private palaces, dined under golden ceilings, and flown in on helicopters above the glowing skyline of the UAE. It is politics performed through immersion in wealth. Every marble floor and chandelier whispers the same message: this is a kingdom of power, permanence, and prestige. Behind these displays, however, is a system of tight control and secrecy. Members of the royal family rarely give interviews. Their public appearances are choreographed. Social media posts are curated. Even the royal children, many of whom are now involved in real estate, sports, or humanitarian initiatives, are introduced to the world only on the family's terms. In a modern world obsessed with transparency, the Al Maktoum family plays by ancient rules. Visibility is granted, not assumed. Some critics argue this secrecy conceals deeper issues. Controversies involving royal family members, such as Princess Latifah's attempted escape or the high-profile divorce of Princess Haya, briefly pierced the media veil. But even then, the stories quickly vanished from mainstream attention. Why? Because the global network of business, oil partnerships, real estate holdings, and political alliances makes it difficult, if not impossible, to truly challenge the family's position. Their reach extends into banking, logistics, tourism, and even elite schools and sports teams abroad. Dubai, as a city, is built on this network. Skyscrapers like the Burj Khalifa are symbols of progress, but they also represent the centralization of wealth and vision under one family. When Sheikh Mohammed dreams of a museum, a marina, or a space program, it doesn't pass through a bureaucratic maze. It gets built. The Al Maktoum fortune is not just inherited, it is actively expanded, protected, and used as a tool of cultural soft power. As oil economies diversify, Dubai's royal family has positioned itself at the nexus of finance, luxury tourism, and global logistics. They own ports, airlines, megamalls, entire islands, and countless towers, many under shell companies and sovereign investment arms. The total value? Experts estimate the Dubai royal family indirectly controls assets worth over $300 billion, but due to the private nature of their holdings, the true figure could be far higher. And yet, in a paradox unique to royalty, the Al Maktoums continue to maintain a mythic presence, both everywhere and nowhere. Their names are on the airports, the schools, the hospitals, the towers, but their personal lives remain elusive, protected behind walls of gold and silence. In Dubai, power doesn't shout. It glides silently behind tinted windows, sails beyond radar range, and dines under domes only the chosen ever see. To the outsider, Dubai is often seen through the lens of oil wealth, a gleaming city birthed from black gold. But here's the shocking truth. Oil accounts for less than 1% of Dubai's GDP today. The real engine of Dubai's wealth is far more complex, more deliberate, and more hidden than most people realize. This city doesn't run on oil anymore. It runs on an engineered illusion of limitless prosperity, built through real estate, tourism, trade zones, and a financial system designed to attract the world's elite. Think of it as a luxury brand disguised as a nation-state, offering global players something more than just profits: prestige, secrecy, and immunity. Let's start with the real estate mirage, the most visible layer of Dubai's modern fortune. In the early 2000s, Sheikh Mohammed launched a gamble that would redefine the Middle East. He opened up Dubai's property market to foreign buyers, introduced freehold ownership for expats, and flooded the skyline with megaprojects: Burj Khalifa, Palm Jumeirah, the World Islands. Each structure wasn't just an architectural statement, it was an investment magnet. A way to launder global capital through glamour. Buy an apartment in the Burj Khalifa, and you aren't just buying a home. You're buying access, a reputation, a slice of the myth. For Russian oligarchs, Nigerian oil barons, Chinese elites, or Western billionaires facing legal troubles, Dubai became the new Switzerland, without the snow. And unlike traditional Western systems burdened by regulation, Dubai offered something far more enticing: speed, privacy, and no questions asked. Billions poured in. Empty towers were sold out in weeks. Developers like Emaar, Nakheel, and Damak didn't just build, they created luxury inventory faster than any city on earth. Today, real estate contributes over 30% of Dubai's economy. Not because everyone lives in these towers, but because they serve as storage for global wealth. The result: a city where a third of properties sit vacant, where entire skyscrapers remain dark at night. But it doesn't matter, because the goal was never population. It was perception. Dubai doesn't sell homes. It sells narratives of unstoppable growth. And this story is reinforced by another key pillar: tourism as theater. Dubai welcomes over 17 million tourists a year, making it one of the most visited cities on the planet. But this isn't traditional tourism. This is curated escapism, a place where visitors aren't just guests, but participants in the illusion of perfection. The shopping malls have ski slopes. The fountains dance to Andrea Bocelli. The deserts have air-conditioned tents, 5-star chefs, and Wi-Fi. You don't visit Dubai to see history. You come to step into a utopian tomorrow, and pay for the privilege. And behind the curtain of entertainment lies the Dubai Free Zone model, a genius piece of economic architecture that helped rewrite the rules of global capitalism. Across the city, there are more than 40 free zones, each designed to attract specific types of businesses: finance, media, health, logistics, crypto. Within these zones, foreigners can own 100% of their companies, repatriate profits tax-free, and operate with little regulatory interference. Want to launch a hedge fund, a crypto startup, or a shell company? You can set up in Dubai International Financial Center, DIFC, and enjoy British-style commercial laws, no taxes, and minimal oversight. Want to register your media empire? Dubai Media City will give you office space, permits, and a seat at the influencer table, even if you never publish a single article. This system turned Dubai into a global business hub, not because of what it produced, but because of what it promised: access without accountability. Even US and UK companies quietly set up branches in Dubai, not just for tax efficiency, but for the insulation it offers from domestic scrutiny. In Dubai, reputation is a service, not a risk. And let's talk about the banking sector, the bloodstream of this hidden machinery. Dubai banks are tightly regulated, on paper. But in practice, they function as quiet vaults for global elites. Complex holding structures, offshore accounts, and free zone corporations are used to blur ownership trails. International investigations into money laundering have repeatedly flagged UAE-based companies, yet prosecution remains rare. Why? Because here, the rules bend toward stability, not disruption. It's not chaos, it's controlled opacity. But none of this would work without one crucial factor: the human labor pyramid. Dubai's engine is powered by millions of migrant workers, primarily from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, the Philippines, and East Africa. These workers build the towers, clean the yachts, cook the meals, and guard the gates. They live in labor camps on the city's outskirts, often under contracts that limit mobility, wages, and even legal protection. While the elite jet set between penthouses and private islands, the workers operate in a parallel Dubai, one that rarely makes the tourism brochures. This system keeps labor costs low, profit margins high, and the illusion intact. It's an invisible class, essential but forgotten. And perhaps the most brilliant part of Dubai's machinery is the media firewall. Dubai controls its public image with surgical precision. Traditional media is state-guided. Influencers are licensed by the government. Even YouTubers, TikTokers, and expat bloggers must register and follow rules, or risk deportation. This isn't censorship in the traditional sense. It's curated permission. You can praise Dubai endlessly. You can film its skyline, its brunches, its malls. But you cannot question the system. You cannot investigate the royals. You cannot talk about labor rights, surveillance, or property bubbles without consequences. So, the narrative continues. Dubai is the future. Dubai is safe. Dubai is rich. And globally, it works. The city now ranks among the top 5 relocation hubs for billionaires. Financial criminals, controversial political figures, crypto moguls, all find comfort in the Dubai promise. Live richly, be protected, stay invisible. Even major global events, like COP28, the climate summit, are hosted here, in a city whose carbon footprint per capita is among the highest in the world. But again, it doesn't matter. Dubai isn't judged by action, it's judged by image. That's the genius. Because while the world watches Dubai's skyline rise, it misses the real architecture underneath, a system designed not to serve citizens, but to attract capital. Dubai doesn't need oil. It has something far more profitable, the illusion of paradise, available for lease. No taxes, no questions, no consequences. Behind the dazzling gold gates of Dubai's royal palaces, not all that glitters is peace. For decades, the Al Maktoum family maintained a pristine image, builders of a nation, protectors of tradition, champions of progress. But cracks began to show, faint at first, then gaping wide. What began as whispers of palace tension exploded into an international firestorm of secrets, escapes, and scandal that no amount of oil money could fully silence. In December 2000, the world heard the name Sheikha Shamsa Al Maktoum, a teenage daughter of Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, when she vanished mysteriously from the streets of Cambridge, England. She had fled from the Al Maktoum estate in Surrey, seeking freedom from a life she described as suffocating and controlled. Just weeks later, she was abducted by men believed to be working on behalf of the Dubai royal court and forcibly returned to the UAE. British authorities quietly investigated but were met with diplomatic silence and uncooperative witnesses. The case was buried, but not forgotten. It would resurface 2 decades later like a ghost. That ghost came roaring back in 2018, with another daughter's voice crying out from the shadows. Sheikha Latifa, another daughter of Sheikh Mohammed, recorded a secret video from within the palatial confines of her life. I am not free. I haven't left the country in years. I can't even go to the mall by myself. In that video, Latifa laid bare a truth no amount of royal protocol could contain. She wanted out. She had planned her escape for years, aided by a network of friends and a French former spy. In March 2018, they set sail from the coast of Oman on a yacht bound for freedom. But the sea would not protect her. Just days later, the yacht was intercepted by Indian and Emirati forces in international waters. Gunfire echoed across the Gulf. Latifa was dragged back to Dubai, vanishing into silence. For nearly 3 years, no one saw or heard from her again. Behind palace walls, a storm was brewing. International media exploded with speculation. Was she alive? Was she imprisoned? The UAE claimed she was safe with family, but offered no proof. The UN demanded answers. Human rights groups raised alarms. Finally, in 2021, leaked videos surfaced, recorded secretly by Latifa on a smuggled phone from inside a villa-turned-prison. She looked gaunt, terrified, her voice cracking with fatigue. I'm a hostage. This villa has been turned into a jail. I just want to be free. Those videos could not be ignored. The United Nations launched inquiries. High-profile allies of Dubai's leadership were forced to take sides. One of the most damning blows came not from activists, but from a courtroom in London. Princess Haya bint Al Hussein, Sheikh Mohammed's sixth wife and the half-sister of the King of Jordan, became the next woman to flee the gilded cage. In 2019, she escaped to the UK with their two young children, seeking refuge from what she described as a climate of fear. She accused the sheikh of threatening her, of conducting a campaign of surveillance and intimidation. Sheikh Mohammed denied it, but the British High Court found otherwise. In a landmark ruling in 2020, the court concluded that Sheikh Mohammed had orchestrated the abductions of both Sheikha Shamsa and Sheikha Latifa, and had subjected Princess Haya to intimidation and harassment. The sheikh's reputation, once spotless in the West, was shattered. Not only was he a statesman and equestrian figurehead in Britain, but he was also exposed as a ruler who used state resources to pursue his own family across borders. Court documents revealed surveillance operations, hacking attempts, and veiled threats. A world leader reduced to a man fighting a war inside his own house. The ruling had geopolitical ripples. Dubai's Western allies, particularly the UK, faced uncomfortable truths. Here was one of their closest Gulf partners being condemned in their own courts. Diplomatic ties became strained. Royal invitations stopped arriving. Sheikh Mohammed's presence in the international spotlight dimmed. Yet within Dubai, little was said. The media remained silent. The public, carefully controlled through censorship and surveillance, had no access to the full story. The royal image was preserved, scrubbed clean for local audiences. Billboards still bore Sheikh Mohammed's face, smiling, visionary, untouchable. But globally, the fairy tale had cracked. The deeper tragedy in these stories is not only the abuse of power, it's the intimate betrayal of family. Daughters imprisoned for wanting to choose their own lives. Wives threatened for daring to leave. This was not the behavior of a modern leader. It echoed a medieval court, where honor was guarded with force and obedience was demanded without question. And yet, the palace never acknowledged wrongdoing. Instead, it doubled down on the pageantry. New towers, new museums, more racing horses, more investments. A redirection of attention, as if wealth could buy back silence. But the world was no longer silent. Journalists, activists, and lawyers continued to pursue the stories. The UN kept the pressure on. Princess Haya's legal battle continued, costing Sheikh Mohammed millions in child custody and legal fees. In 2021, a British court awarded Princess Haya and her children over £500 million, one of the largest divorce settlements in British history. That figure wasn't just money, it was symbolic. A price tag on secrecy. A monetary scar on royal pride. Perhaps the most haunting aspect is this. To this day, the fates of Sheikha Shamsa and Sheikha Latifa remain murky. Though Latifa appeared in a carefully staged photo in 2021, smiling at a Dubai mall, many questioned its authenticity. She has not spoken freely since. Her last known statement was, "I just want to live my life in freedom." But what does freedom look like when your father controls the state? When your last name is power itself? For all its shine and luxury, the Al Maktoum dynasty is a reminder that even the richest palaces can be built on silence. That behind diamond gates, daughters may cry in secret. And that sometimes, escape is the most dangerous act of all. Beneath the polished marble floors of luxury hotels and the crystal-clear skyline that has become the envy of the modern world, Dubai wages a quieter war, one not fought with weapons or diplomacy, but with image, influence, and perception. This is the unseen battlefield where the Al Maktoum family has become one of the most sophisticated architects of global narrative control. It didn't happen overnight. In the 1990s, Dubai was still a regional hub with big ambitions but little global traction. The Al Maktoum leadership knew that to rise beyond oil and sand, they needed more than infrastructure. They needed attention, respect, admiration. And so began one of the most calculated brand-building operations the modern world has ever seen. It started with architecture. The Burj Al Arab wasn't just a hotel, it was a statement. Shaped like a sail on the Arabian Gulf, it wasn't meant to house tourists. It was meant to seduce the world. Soon followed the Palm Islands, an artificial archipelago built so impossibly that even nature seemed stunned. Then came the Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building, a literal monument to ambition piercing the heavens. Each project became a press magnet, a viral sensation before virality even had a name. But structures were only the foundation. The Al Maktoum strategy evolved. If you want to own the global narrative, you don't just build cities, you own stories. Enter the PR machines. Over the last 2 decades, Dubai has quietly partnered with Western PR firms, social media experts, and global advertising agencies. The goal? Craft an irresistible myth that Dubai is the future. A haven for innovation. A miracle of the desert. YouTube influencers were flown in, first class of course, to ride in Lamborghinis, dine in the sky, and film slow-motion reels at the Atlantis Hotel. Tech conferences hosted Silicon Valley elites. Celebrities were given beachfront villas in exchange for photo ops. Fashion brands staged runways on helipads. Even global sporting events, like the Formula One Abu Dhabi Grand Prix and UFC Fight Island, were drawn into the UAE media web. But every perfect image comes with a shadow. And behind the dazzling Instagram feeds was a truth more complex, and often more unsettling. Foreign journalists who tried to dig deeper into Dubai's labor system, surveillance practices, or the treatment of women often faced visa rejections or quiet blacklists. News outlets that published critical stories about Sheikh Mohammed's family found future interviews cancelled or their bureaus pressured into silence. The Al Maktoums had learned that the best way to control the message was to flood the world with a better one. Even crises were met with calculated countermoves. When Princess Haya fled to London and exposed disturbing allegations about her husband, the family didn't issue threats, they issued charm offensives. Sheikh Mohammed penned poetic verses, appeared at horse races, and quietly funneled charitable donations to international institutions. Headlines shifted. Outrage softened. Dubai's royal family understands that Western approval isn't just a luxury, it's armor. It protects their economic model, attracts billions in foreign investment, and shields them from broader scrutiny. And when PR isn't enough, there's always soft power. The UAE has invested heavily in sports diplomacy. Manchester City Football Club was purchased by Sheikh Mansour, a member of Abu Dhabi's royal family, but the branding echoed across all Emirates. Through sports, the UAE didn't just buy entertainment, it bought fans. Billions of them. Overnight, the region transformed into a global hub of athletic dominance. Boxing matches, tennis championships, esports tournaments, all roads suddenly led to Dubai. But critics began calling it what it was, sports washing. A term that accused the royals of using global fandom to gloss over human rights concerns, worker exploitation, and the suffocating control of speech within their borders. Yet, for every critique, there were 10 more stories of success. World expos, architectural records, AI innovation centers. In the attention economy, Dubai knew how to drown out the noise. One of the most powerful moves in the Al Maktoum playbook? Real estate branding. In New York, London, Paris, properties quietly owned by Dubai royals or their investment arms stand tall in the skyline. They fund luxury towers, shopping malls, and hotels. But there are no gold plaques that say, Royal Family of Dubai. Just holding companies. Shell entities. Layers of plausible deniability. In 2022 alone, UAE-based investors poured over $10 billion into foreign property, much of it in cities where media, culture, and opinion are shaped. Influence through ownership. Visibility without exposure. But as the digital age evolves, so do the cracks. Whistleblowers, once silenced, now have Twitter. Exiled royals, once unreachable, now have Instagram. Activists from Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International have built online archives that counter the PR narrative with chilling reports from inside the labor camps and royal palaces. And the younger generation, the crown princes being groomed for power, must now navigate a paradox. How to preserve royal mystique in a world obsessed with transparency. Even within Dubai, citizens are starting to whisper. The internet can no longer be fully censored. Foreigners no longer stay silent when passports are confiscated. The myth is fraying, just slightly. But it's enough to make the palace nervous. Still, the war for perception continues. Just one scroll through your social media feed, an influencer riding a camel, a couple sipping gold-flaked cappuccinos, reminds you, the machine is still humming. Still seductive. Still powerful. And that's the brilliance of the Maktoum strategy. They don't need you to believe everything. They just need you to doubt the worst long enough to keep watching, investing, and dreaming. Because in Dubai, perception isn't just reality. It's business. It's politics. It's survival. From the outside, the Al Maktoum dynasty appears ageless, agile and adapting, immune to scandal, and built to last. But behind the manicured skyline and polished Instagram reels, a far more fragile reality looms. For every grand strategy that brought Dubai to the world stage, there's a private uncertainty about what happens next. Because even the most immovable empires must one day confront a question that no oil, no gold, and no PR firm can defer. Who takes over when the founding hand lets go? Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum has ruled since 2006, but his influence spans decades. He didn't just lead a city, he sculpted an identity. His vision turned sand into steel, transformed ambition into spectacle, and projected the Emirates into orbit, both literally and economically. But he is now in his mid-70s. And despite his age, the matter of succession is treated like a state secret. In traditional Gulf monarchies, power doesn't always pass cleanly. It's negotiated quietly, shaped by tribal lineage, personal favor, and the unspoken rules of blood. So far, the heir apparent is Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed, popularly known as Fazza. He's charismatic, educated in London and Dubai, active on social media, and known for his poetry and equestrian skills. To the youth, he symbolizes modern Arab royalty. Fit, connected, and surprisingly relatable. But the real question isn't just about visibility. It's about control. Because behind Hamdan stand at least a dozen full brothers and half-brothers, many of them highly ambitious, Western-educated, and vying for their own legacy. Some are in charge of security. Others manage parts of the Dubai holding empire. One runs ports. Another chairs real estate behemoths. In this palace of glass, loyalty is currency, and internal rivalries are never aired, but they're always felt. The silent succession crisis. Unlike Saudi Arabia, which now has a publicly known crown prince with sweeping powers, Dubai, and the UAE, keeps its transition plans in shadow. That silence isn't just tradition. It's tactical. Dubai's financial ecosystem runs on confidence. If investors catch even a whiff of instability, especially one rooted in royal disputes, it could rattle markets from Singapore to Silicon Valley. So the family closes ranks, avoids naming firm successors, and presents a united front. But the truth is more precarious. Several leaked documents and insider reports from Western embassies suggest that some senior royals are uncomfortable with the speed at which modernization is being forced, especially when it edges against conservative values. Others argue that Dubai's obsession with global branding has come at the expense of Emirati cultural roots. This generational friction isn't new, but it's growing. Because when the founder is no longer at the helm, the glue that held the vision together might vanish, and what's left could fragment. Geopolitics in play. Add to that the larger regional pressure. The UAE isn't just Dubai. It's a federation. And within that federation, Abu Dhabi holds the military muscle and oil reserves. Its ruler, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, is the de facto power center in the region. Though the two emirates present a united front, their priorities don't always align. Abu Dhabi is more conservative, strategic, and power-focused. Dubai is glitzy, risk-tolerant, and economic in its orientation. So if the Dubai succession turns turbulent, if there's internal disagreement or a gap in leadership, Abu Dhabi could intervene to stabilize or absorb more influence. This is the unspoken anxiety within Dubai's elite, that their city's autonomy, wealth, and soft power could slowly be eroded if the succession is mishandled or challenged from within. The race for global relevance. Beyond family politics and federation dynamics, Dubai also faces a broader existential question. Will the magic formula that built its empire still work in the next 30 years? The 2020s brought shocks. COVID halted tourism, oil revenues dipped, and foreign investment wavered. Global attention is now shifting to climate change, AI, and economic sustainability. Cities like Neom in Saudi Arabia threaten to out-Dubai Dubai. Meanwhile, Qatar is flexing its muscles with sports diplomacy and soft power. To stay relevant, Dubai needs more than skyscrapers and tax breaks. It needs Vision 2.0, and a leader bold enough to create it. Hamdan, for all his popularity, has yet to prove that he can move beyond ceremonial duties into hard power governance. The next ruler must not only preserve the empire built by Sheikh Mohammed, but evolve it. Because the world that made Dubai possible is changing fast. The invisible players. What complicates the picture further is that not all succession battles are fought on palace floors. In modern dynasties, advisors, foreign consultants, and intelligence officers shape outcomes just as much as bloodlines do. Western governments have a stake in who leads Dubai next. So do multi-billion-dollar companies headquartered in its free zones. Intelligence alliances, military basing rights, and cybersecurity partnerships all depend on trust and continuity. That's why, as Sheikh Mohammed ages, international interest in the succession is intensifying behind closed doors. And why even small shifts in royal protocol, who sits next to whom, who travels on behalf of the family, are being scrutinized like omens. A future written in sand or stone. So what happens next? There are a few possible futures. Smooth transition. Hamdan or another trusted son takes the reins, supported by his siblings and backed by Abu Dhabi. The city continues its global expansion, perhaps with more transparency and a deeper focus on sustainability. Fragmentation. Internal rivalries spark a quiet reshuffling. Portfolios are divided, influence diluted. Dubai's unity weakens as various branches of the family pull in different directions. Abu Dhabi intervention. In the event of a power vacuum or crisis, Abu Dhabi assumes greater control over federal decisions, shifting the UAE balance irreversibly. Reform from within. A younger generation of royals push for a hybrid model, preserving tradition but embracing governance reforms, human rights accountability, and tech-driven development. No one knows which path Dubai will take. But one thing is certain. The age of absolute power without consequence is nearing its end. The next ruler will not inherit a blank slate. He'll inherit secrets, scandals, and expectations, along with the weight of keeping the illusion alive. Because in Dubai, perception is legacy. And legacy is everything.